All right, so if you're building with AI, you know the deal. Big inputs can get messy and, let's be honest, really expensive fast. Today, we're going to dive into a super powerful technique that tackles that problem head on. It's called context compression. Let's get into how this can make your apps smarter, faster, and way more cost-effective. This right here, this phrase just nails it. Think of your language model's context window like a small backpack. You can't fit everything in there, right? So you want to pack it with only the most important stuff, the signal, and leave all the junk, the noise, behind. It's not about just shoving more data at the model. It's about being really smart and feeding it only what it needs to succeed. And let's get real for a second about a pain point that every single builder feels: the cost. Every piece of info you send to a model gets broken down into tokens, and yep, you pay for every single one. And as those inputs get bigger, the costs don't just creep up, they can totally skyrocket. I mean, just look at this. It lays the problem out perfectly. A small, focused input? Yeah, the cost is pretty manageable. But the moment you start feeding the model whole documents or really long conversations, whoosh, that cost bar just shoots through the roof. This is why figuring out how to optimize your input isn't just a nice-to-have, it's an absolute necessity if you want to build anything that scales.
So, what's the move? How do we battle these rising costs without killing the quality of our output? Well, the answer is context compression. This is going to be your go-to strategy for creating those smart, lean inputs we're talking about.
Now, what's really key here is that context compression isn't just about making things shorter for the sake of it. No, it's a really intelligent process. It looks at what the user is actually asking for, then it scans all the source material to pull out only the bits that are most relevant to that specific query. It's all about precision, not just random cutting.
Okay, and what's super interesting is that this isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. You've actually got options. So let's pop the hood and take a look at the different techniques you have in your toolkit, because each one has its own special strengths.
So you've basically got three main flavors here. First up is extractive. This is the most straightforward. It literally just pulls out the most important sentences exactly as they are. You'd probably lean on this for something like legal tech, where keeping the original wording is absolutely critical. Then you've got abstractive, which is a bit fancier. It actually creates a brand new summary of the text. This is awesome for things like chatbots that need to sound natural and conversational. And finally, there's selective quoting, which is a clever mix of both. It grabs key quotes and facts, giving you a really nice balance between the other two.
This brings us to what is honestly the most important strategic decision you're gonna have to make. You're always balancing this fundamental trade-off. Do you need perfect, complete accuracy, or do you want maximum brevity to save the most money?
Let's just break that down a bit. If you lean towards prioritizing accuracy, you're going to use a lighter touch with the compression. The good news? You keep all those key details and nuance. The bad news? Your token savings and your cost savings won't be as dramatic. On the flip side, if you go for maximum brevity, you'll see huge cost savings for sure. But you run the very real risk of accidentally cutting out some small, subtle piece of information that the model actually needed.
And really, that all leads to this essential question for you, the builder. What does your app need the most? If you're building, say, a tool to analyze legal documents, accuracy is probably non-negotiable, right? But if you're building a quick little summary tool, then maybe efficiency and speed are what matter most. Your specific use case is everything. It dictates your entire strategy.
Okay, so we've covered the what, the how, and the core strategy. Now let's get down to brass tacks and see how this all fits into a real-world workflow. We'll look at the massive payoff and also the one major pitfall you have to avoid.
So check this out. The magic here happens right at the very beginning. You compress the context before you do retrieval, before you do generation, before anything else. By doing it this way, you're slashing costs and lightening the model's workload from the get-go, which makes the whole pipeline way more efficient.
And the result is exactly what you'd hope for. When you get it right, context compression leads to way lower API bills. And a lot of the time, you actually get faster and more focused answers from your model because it's not getting distracted by a bunch of irrelevant fluff. It is a total win-win.
And this is a really big but. You have to compress carefully. It's a powerful tool, but if you get too aggressive with it, you can easily strip out the exact details the model needs to answer a query correctly. It requires a really thoughtful touch.
So as you go out and start implementing this in your own projects, always come back to this one question. You cut the tokens, but did you keep the signal?
Finding that perfect balance, that's the real key to mastering context compression and building some truly amazing AI applications. Thanks for joining me.